upgrading the Rowan Fearless Sparkmage Planeswalker deck. Hey everyone, it's VM Campos Magic Fan. Welcome to another Planeswalker deck upgrade video. This time we're working with Rowan Fearless Sparkmage. So this is one of the decks from Throne of Eldraine, one of the Planeswalker decks that you can buy off the shelf, have a lot of fun with, and then upgrade. That's what this video is about. So this video is focused on beginning to intermediate players, learning how to upgrade a deck, focused on common and uncommon upgrades. Because as we all know, anyone can buy any card that exists out there, any rarity, and make an amazing deck. But a lot of us don't have every card, and we're on a budget, so we'll focus on common and uncommon cards. Also, I'm going to focus on only cards from Throne of Eldraine, the latest and the greatest set of Magic. Because again, if we could go back to any set we want, we'll be able to get the best cards of all. But some of us don't have every single set, every single card, or the budget for it. So this is going to be Throne of Eldraine only, commons and uncommons. Alright, let's get started. First of all, let's start with the lands. These Planeswalker decks usually come with 25 lands. Pro tip, you will usually do fine with 24 lands. So here's what we're doing first. We're going to stick with 10 planes. I'm going to take out 4 planes and instead add 4 Idyllic Granges. These are also planes, not a basic land, but a plane, and they tap for white mana. Very cool art. And it's got the ability, Idyllic Grange enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other planes. So you play this on your 4th turn, and what does that get you? When it enters the battlefield untapped, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. This deck is very creature focused. So by turn 4, when you drop this, you will be able to start putting counters, permanent counters, on your creatures, making them bigger, faster, stronger. So I'm putting 4 of these. It's a common, and you should be able to do it. So I will add 4 of these Idyllic Granges. I'm going to keep the 10 mountains. I'm going to keep the 10 mountains as is. Love the art on these. These will work just fine. The deck is mostly white, but with some splashing of red, and so 10 mountains will be just fine. I'm going to keep the 4 Wind-Scarred Crags. This creates red or white mana. It comes into play tapped and it gains you a land. These are the gain lands. So you get a little bit of life plus both of the colors of your mana that you need. So I'm keeping the 4. One more land change. Okay, this is related to the red spell that we get here. We have Scorching Dragonfire. I'm keeping all 3 of them. This is 2 mana for an instant, deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die, exile it instead. Okay, I want a full playset of that. So I'm going to take out, again, one of those planes and put a full playset of Scorching Dragonfire. This will take care of a variety of creatures and planeswalkers for only 2 mana at instant speed, and it's common, and we don't need, again, 25 lands. This will take us down to 24 lands. That's where we want to be. Another sorcery or instant, here we go. It's the Joust. It comes with 2. I'm going to keep them both. 2 mana, sorcery. Uncommon. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't. The creature you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's a knight, then those creatures fight each other. They deal damage to each other. This is not combat, so you can't use first strike and such. They just deal damage to each other. But your creature, if it's a knight, and they're all going to be knights, that's what this deck focuses on, gets +2/+1, and therefore is probably able to take out the big creature. So I'm keeping 2 of these. You might think about adding another one or 2. It's uncommon. We'll see the other changes here, and then you can decide if you want to add more. But I like this one. And I'm kind of surprised that they've never used this term ever on a Magic card name, but here we have Joust. The deck comes with 2 weapon racks. These are an artifact for 4. It comes in with counters, and I don't like it, so I'm taking this out because instead what I want is the Silverflame Ritual. This is common. It's also 4 mana, focused on white. Sorcery, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So while this is putting +1 counters on one creature at a time, and then it's done, this is putting +1 on all your creatures. But wait a minute, adamant. If you spend at least 3 white mana to cast this, creatures you control also gain vigilance until end of turn. So set yourself up for a big attack, +1 everything that you have, give them vigilance, and for the same cost there. So I'm putting 2 of these in the deck and taking out 2 of the weapons racks. Let's talk about our creatures. I'm keeping 2 of the included Venerable Knights. This is a 1-drop creature. I love those. For 1 white mana, you get a 2/1, and when it dies, put a +1 counter on another knight you control. So she gives her all, passes on her blade to another one of your knights. Amazing. Turn 1, she's doing a little bit of damage a couple of turns before your opponent can even get anything going on if you've got this on the opening hand. To increase the possibility of getting this on your opening hand, you might go with a full play set of 4. I'm going to keep these 2, but if you want to add 2 more, this is uncommon and it wouldn't hurt at all. I'm going to keep this rare card. This is for 1 white mana, Giant Killer. It is a creature, human peasant, with an adventure. Okay, so you're going to get a 1/2 that can then tap another creature. That's going to be cool. That's going to be annoying for your opponent. It's also got an adventure where you can instantly pay 3 mana to destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. So if your opponent has a lot of big creatures, you can pay the adventure cost, destroy that creature. This creature goes into exile, and then later you can cast a Giant Killer, so 4 mana in total, so to speak. It is rare, only 1 comes with the deck. If you want to add more, that would be kind of good because, again, this tapping ability. Now, it's a little bit more defensive, it's not a knight, so it doesn't have the full synergy, but think about adding more of these if you have them. Alright, we've got here 1 lone Weaselback Redcap. Now, I do have to say that this is the most funniest magic art in all of Eldraine, but sorry, that's not enough to keep the card in the deck. We are going to replace it with a Youthful Knight, because the deck already comes with 2, and actually I want a full play set of 4, because that means I'm also going to remove a Rimrock Knight. So, 1 Rim Knight is gone, and 1 Weaselback Redcap is gone. Because what I want instead is a full playset of 4 Youthful Knights. These are common, 2 mana, 2/1, first strike. So that's going to be great. On your second turn, you could play a 2/1 first striker. And if your Venerable Knight passes on, she can add her +1 to your knight, and then you've got a 3/2 first strike, and you might have more than 1. Amazing. I love first strike, and I love these knights. Look at that amazing art as well. Remember, in the wilds, your true training will begin. Quoth Sir Alin, the Lion's Claw. More on him later. So as I said, I am taking out 1 of the Rimrock Knights, 2 mana in red, creature with an adventure, 3/1, cannot block. So, okay, this would be great if it had a little trample or first strike or whatever. 3/1, it's very fragile. You might get it out on turn 2 and start doing some massive damage. I'm going to keep 2 of them. What it also excels with is the adventure of Boulder Rush. 1 red mana instant, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So here's a combat trick where even your little old first strike creature can become a 4/1 first strike if you have the Rimrock Knight in hand first. 2 of them will be good enough, and later on you can get a 3/1 if you cast it from the Exile Adventure Zone. The deck comes with 1 Acclaimed Contender. This is just amazing knight synergy right here. 3 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a knight, aura, equipment, or legendary artifact card from among them and put it into your hand, then put the rest at the bottom of your library. So you already need to have a knight out, and then the Acclaimed Contender does her thing. That could work pretty well. There's only 1 of them in the deck. It's rare, and this is getting in. So you might think about adding more of these if you can afford it. I'm going to keep both of the Ardenvale Tacticians. As a matter of fact, I'm going to add 2 more because I'm going to remove the Knight of the Keep. So it's a kind of a plain old 3/2 for 3 mana. I'm taking them out, and instead I'm going to use for the same casting cost 3 mana to put in an Ardenvale Tactician. Here's a creature with Adventure. You get a 2/3 base, flyer, cool, I like that, good defender, a little bit of attack in the air, amazing art. And you get Dizzying Swoop as an instant. Tap up to 2 target creatures. This could really devastate your opponent. If you're building up your creatures early on in the game, you'll have some creatures. 3rd turn or later, you will then be able to instantly tap 2 of their blockers and send in your creatures uncontested. And then you can pay the 3 mana later on to get the flyer. If your opponent is not playing too many creatures, just bring in the flyer, 2/3. So full playset of that. I'm keeping the 2 Inspiring Veterans. These are the ones that I would really think about adding more of them if they slot in well. This is a red and white casting cost card. You get a Human Knight +2/+2, +1/+1 to your other knights. So this is the classic Lord card that they've been doing recently, going back to like Ixalan where they had that Merfolk and the vampires. Well, here's now a Knight Lord where it gives all your other knights +1, and if you've got 2 of them out, well, they give each other +1, and these are 3/3s. So I love the art on that, and the flavor text: I fight for my daughter, who may not set foot on a battlefield for many years. Remember who you fight for. And this art's just amazing. Look at that. She's on his horse, and she's all like, yeah, get him! And so, cool art, cool effect. Think about putting more of these. I'm keeping the 2 that come with the deck. We've got 2 Prize Griffins. These are going out. They're not knights or anything, so those are getting replaced with Sir Alin, the Lion's Claw. Now, these are uncommons. An uncommon legendary card. That's cool. 5 mana, also just like the one I removed, but you get a Human Knight, 4/4, First Strike. Wow, I love that. 4 damage first strike. But wait, when Sir Alin attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Again, you're building your squad of knights. They're all going to attack. This is a very aggro deck. With Sir Alin leading the charge, everything gets +1/+1. Amazing. It's legendary, so you can only have 1 summoned at a time, but I'm putting 2 of them to replace that Griffin that doesn't have any synergy, and I think it's going to make your knights even more aggro, so he gets in on the squad. Next, we're moving over to the exclusive cards. These are cards that you cannot find anywhere else in a regular booster pack of Throne of Eldraine. They only come in a Planeswalker deck. Garrison Griffin. Okay, not a knight, but watch this. 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer. Okay, that's pretty cool. But then when it attacks, target knight you control gains flying until end of turn. So give one of your other knights a little boost. It jumps on its back, it gets flying, 3 mana, not so bad. Synergizes with your knights. Okay, Garrison Griffin, you stay on the squad. I'll keep the full playset of that. But here is the wiggle room where you can take out a few to change the deck up a little bit. I'm keeping the 4. And this is exclusive because you see it goes past the highest number of Throne of Eldraine, and it doesn't have the whatever out of whatever indicator. It's out of the bounds, it's out of the realm of the regular cards, and that's why this one is one of the exclusive cards. You can't find this in regular booster packs. So we're keeping the Garrison Griffin. Another exclusive card. We're keeping the 3 of Rowan's Battleguard, 4 mana for a 3/3 first strike. So we've got some good first strike creatures going on. But wait, as long as you control a Rowan Planeswalker, Rowan's Battleguard gets +3/+0. This can be a 6/3 first strike if your Planeswalker is out on the field, inspiring her. And I'm inspired by this beautiful card art. The red really works with her red hair, her red cloak, the red background with tinges of blue, cold steel. I love it. This sword is sunrise. The other is dawn. They mark the beginning of my days, but the end of yours. Oh snap, I love that flavor text. And Rowan's Battleguard deserves to be on the team. Lastly, the exclusive card over here is Rowan's Stalwarts. I'm not fully in love with this card, so this might be one of the ones you might think about cutting. It's a rare. It's one of the exclusive cards, 307. 5 mana, 5/2. Okay, it's kind of... it's fragile in the defense. I don't quite like that. But if you first have a Venerable Knight that can pass on its +1/+1, you get here a 6/3. What it has besides that is one of these tutor effects. You get to go search for something. When this enters the battlefield, you may search your library and or graveyard for a card named Rowan. Fearless Sparkmage. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. Okay, so the Stalwart at 5 mana can come out and let you go get your Planeswalker. Then your Planeswalker is ready to come next turn if you've got the mana. Besides that, you've got a 5/2 creature. So we'll keep both of the Rowan Stalwarts, but this is the one I would think about changing up somehow. And then the crown jewel of the deck is the foil Planeswalker card. Here we have Rowan, Fearless Sparkmage, 5 mana, legendary creature, Rowan, 5 loyalty, +1. Up to 1 target creature gets +3/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. So +3/+0 first strike on even your dinkiest creature is amazing. This Youthful Knight can become a 5/1. What about if you're in the air? You can have here a 5/3 first strike Ardenvale Tactician. Very cool. Or what about if we pass on the power over to Sir Alin? That's a 7/4 first strike. -2. Rowan deals 1 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures can't block this turn. Okay, so she comes down on the battlefield, deals damage to maybe a little weak creature of theirs, taking it out of commission. Or deal damage to a bigger creature, and then it can't block, and you go in with your attack. And the ultimate, -9. Gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap them. They gain haste until end of turn. Wow. Steal everyone's creatures. So if you're playing multiplayer, this is even better. Steal everyone's creatures and then send them to a big ol' attack. If it's just 1v1, steal all their pesky creatures, they become part of Rowan's squad, and you go in for the kill. Amazing. I love that. Okay, patrons, let's go on to the exclusive stuff. This will be the sideboard and other cool things. Thank you so much for contributing to the Patreon and keeping me going. Let's get started. All right, so let's say your opponent is working with a lot of artifacts or enchantments. In the sideboard, I would put some True Love's Kiss. For 4 mana, at an instant, you can exile target artifact or enchantment. Then you draw a card. So this will really disrupt them if they're dealing with artifacts and enchantments. That would also include their equipment, their mana rocks, and all of that good stuff, or any enchantments that are vexing you. So for the sideboard, True Love's Kiss is perfect. Next up, what if your opponent is working with a lot of non-creature spells? They are like some sort of control mage, an annoying player. Well, we can go with Deafening Silence. This is an enchantment that hangs around on the battlefield for 1 white mana. This is uncommon. Each player cannot cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. Your deck is pretty much creatures, so you'll be fine. And you've got a few instants and sorceries, you'll be fine. But if you see that your opponent is really relying on a lot of non-creature spells, this can really shut them down. Really epic art right here. And when you play this on the battlefield, that's how your opponent will feel. Okay, let's say your opponent has like a big creature, a big finisher that you're having a hard time dealing with. We have Outflank. This is a 1 white mana instant at common. Outflank deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature equal to the number of creatures you control. So if you've already built up your field, you will be able to do sort of X amount of damage to an attacking or blocking creature. One of their big old creatures that is giving you trouble, you can outflank them and hopefully take them out. On the creature front again, if your opponent has some pesky creatures that you can't just deal with, they're not attacking with them or whatever, you have the Glass Casket. This is one of those newfangled colored artifacts, so you must pay white and 1 more to get an artifact. This is uncommon. When Glass Casket enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent controls with CMC of 3 or less until the casket leaves. So if they've got some sort of creature that is really causing you trouble, that is just hanging back the whole time, you may be able to send it to the Glass Casket, and then fate will decide whether it's a bed or a tomb. Aw man, that's like the saddest artwork I've ever seen. Poor little fox in that cage. But I won't be saying that for your opponent's creatures. Now let's say that you really need to be aggro against your opponent. Think about putting Crashing Drawbridge, an artifact for 2, that when you tap it, creatures you control gain haste. Okay, so it's a wall, it'll help defend you, great, but the better thing about it is that it can give your creatures haste. You're summoning, big creatures, but they might not be fast enough for your opponent. Make your deck even more aggro by putting in the Crashing Drawbridge, because you'll have a blocker, better yet a tapper, that will then make this a 4/4 first strike haste creature. So I would think about putting that in the sideboard if you need to be really aggro against your opponent. Lastly, Slaying Fire, instant 3 mana, uncommon. Let's say you need to just deal more damage. Either they've got big creatures or their opponent has just a lot of walls or just a lot of stalling. 3 damage to any target, so your opponent. If instead you adamantly cast this, so you pay 3 red mana, it deals 4 damage. So 3 mana in total to deal 4 damage directly to your opponent in case you really need to finish them off. Maybe you saw on game 1 that you're able to bring them down really low, but then they start to stabilize and then they come back from behind. Well, if you've got a few of these in the sideboard, you've got that extra bit of damage to take them out. What if they've got a lot of food tokens and they keep gaining that extra little life and it's getting hard for you to deal with them? From the sideboard, bring out your Slaying Fire. If you have more than 1, great. This is uncommon and you'll be able to get that extra bit of damage. Now I'm going to include 3 cards right here that are kind of interesting, but it would transform the deck a little bit more than you might want. But think about this. Resole Rider. This is either white or black mana to cast. This is in hybrid colors. So you've got to pay white in this deck. Now that's a big investment of only white mana if you've got dual colors. So what you would get, however, is a 4/2 Human Knight, where then you can pay again double white to give it lifelink. You can get a lot of life out of this Resole Rider. Or pay 3 white to give it indestructible. So it's a big investment in white mana, and in a dual color deck, not these colors, that might be a little tricky. So I have this included here, not in the sideboard, but as a transformative card to think about adding to this deck. Along the same lines, there is an on-color deck over here, Fireborn Knight. Either red or white. This is just 4 mana in total. It's almost like a colorless creature because you'll have these colors no problem. Human Knight, 2/3, double strike. So this will do 4 damage in total. If the opponent's creature is like a 2/2, it'll just strike it out of the way no problem. If it's a 2/3, it does 4 damage in total. What if they have their own 4/2 creature? Yours will first strike it out of the way first and you're done. But what's this? You pay the casting cost again of 4 white and it gets +1 until end of turn. This is a great late game card because what you'll get is the ability to really pump up this creature a lot. Yeah, 8 mana will get you +2/+2, but that +2/+2 is actually a 4 more damage. This can be doing 8 damage in total. This can be doing 8 damage in total if you have the mana to spend. So again, the hybrid cards, I kind of love them, but not all of them are on color. This is on brand at least. This is a big investment in white mana that you've got to be careful about. This one will work a lot better, and again, not a sideboard card, but another transformative card to think about adding to the deck. These are uncommons if you can get them. Now let's move on to the big money upgrades. Like I mentioned, you might think about putting more of the Acclaimed Contenders if you've got them. This helps accelerate your aggro strategy, because as long as you've got at least one other knight on the battlefield, the contender can let you go get more off the top of your library. This will work once you've got enough land on the field And you're not hurting for more land, because if you do see land in the next 5 that is coming, you'll have to put it back at the bottom of your library. So once you've stabilized with a good amount of land, you'll be able to Acclaimed Contend and get another creature knight. So think about this. These are rare, so think about adding these if you can get them. What about Linden, the Steadfast Queen? This is so on flavor. You can get the legendary creature Human Noble, and she's the queen of the realm, of your realm, and therefore she is a 3/3 with Vigilance. She's always watching with her amazing sword. Whenever a white creature you control attacks, you gain 1 life. You're going to have a lot of creatures. Focus on white creatures, you're going to gain life. So you might be very aggro, maybe not a lot of defense. If Linden is on the battlefield for 3 white mana, you're going to get that life back when you attack. And you can say to your opponent, "Until my last breath, I will defend the realm." She's rare, so think about getting her if you can afford it. And lastly, the Circle of Loyalty. This is a mythic rare card for 6 mana. But wait, it's got a cost reduction. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each knight you control. You can bring this down, in theory, to 2 white mana. Even if you just knock it down 1 or 2 mana, you'll be able to get it out, and then creatures you control get +1/+1, so make all of your creatures stronger permanently. And whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 white knight creature with Vigilance. So if you cast the circle first and then cast Linden, you get an extra 2/2 knight to come and help you. Later, 3 plus white tap, create that knight token with Vigilance. More knights, more good. This is a mythic rare, however, so if you can get one of these, great. Now it's legendary, so you can only have 1 of them at a time on the battlefield, more than 1 in your library, but mythic, legendary, think about adding this if you're a high roller. Well, patrons, thank you so much for contributing to my Patreon. You just got the exclusive, longer version of the video. I hope you liked it. Tell me in the comments what else you would do with this deck. What about if you added more rares and mythic rares to the deck? What about if you added cards from other sets? I'd love to hear about it. Tell me in the comments. Keep subscribing, and there's more stuff coming in the future. This has been VM Campos, and I'll see you in the wilds.